afternoon, everyone. My name is Mario Palma. Welcome to the session titled Authentic Assessment for Guided Reading. I had the privilege and honor of presenting yesterday with Dr. Kathy Escamilla. Many of you were there, so thank you for those who participated fully for what I think was a really amazing experience. So thank you. I definitely learned a lot. Today we're going to keep it moving with a slightly different lens on literacy and language. And I have, again, the unique privilege and honor of working together with Dr. Manuel Escamilla. So we will be co-ing today. And we have our handouts, making sure that Bitly's all running. We have our physical copies. I will be doing a lot of video. So I'm not an audio person, so I'm just coming clean. I'm going to try my best not to have the volume kind of hit you in the ears, but I've had a couple of issues, so let's all just be aware of that. But I'll do my best. Manuel, ¿te dieron un micrófono? ¿Tiene un microphone? Can we get a microphone for Manuel? Thank you. Okay, so when we were designing this presentation, I asked Manuel to share a little bit about his linguistic corriente, his identity corriente, that many of us ask our students to do. And so he's going to talk a little bit about himself as a sequential bilingual. Manuel, is it working?
Perfect. Good afternoon to everybody. It is a great honor again to be here. For those of you who were at the opening ceremony, I told you that I was very nervous to do that. I'm a human being, so I get nervous. Today I'm very embarrassed, and I'm very embarrassed. It's kind of difficult for me to be embarrassed, but I'm embarrassed, Mario, because actually, you know, the face of this presentation is not mine. I saw my picture out there. Híjole. Claro, está muy guapa el retrato, pero I saw it and I said, no, I am not the face of this presentation. It is Mario Palma. I am very honored, as I'm sure that if Kathy will say a couple of words before too, that I'm very honored to be here. I saw Mario make a presentation. I have seen him actually many times make a presentation. And I am very, very impressed by the energy, by the preparation, by the honesty, the authenticity of what he presents. And so I am proud and honored to help him. I'm helping, okay? But there's something that he has done, and I saw him again yesterday, that he is going to ask people to respond to questions. He's going to ask people to read material. I think that you're going to do that. And I know that in your class, when you want for the children to do something, you want for all of them to raise their hands. And you'll see that very few of you will do that. I'm going to talk a little bit about it when it's my turn, but one of the things that I want, again, for all of us, and this is what Mario does, is to include all of you. There are a lot of you here, to include all of you in what we're going to do. Each one of you has to go away with something that you say, man, I'm going to use this Monday. And if I can, tomorrow, Saturday, when I get home with my own children. So again, I'm very proud. This is also part of the American Reading Company, but it is more about Mario and his ability, again, to transmit knowledge to those who participate. I say this frequently. I don't expect anything from Mario. I just like the kind of individual that he is, but I do want to clarify that the face of today is Mario and not Manuel. Would you like to say something?
Gracias, Manuel. La pregunta que quería que contestara era ¿quién eres lingüísticamente? So thank you for that.
Pusiste la respuesta ahí porque tú sabías que no iba a llegar al punto. Right. Okay.
Kathy.
So, hello, my name is Kathy Escamilla, and so I am also on the American Reading Company's advisory board, and I'm proud to be a part of that work. I'm also very, very proud to be a part of a group called Literacy Squared, and have been part of that group for the last 15 years. And this topic, I'm also a sequential bilingual, in case you're wondering, but I just now I just now found out that Manuel's also a mariachi, so I don't know when that happened. but it's part of the, just in case you're reading. So I want to say the topic is near and dear to my heart, and I want Mario to get started. So I'm not going to take much time except to say this. Every single person in this room, I am assuming you want to be accountable. You want to be accountable to children. We are responsible for them. But you want to be accountable in an authentic way. And this is what this presentation is looking at. How do we assess children in ways that are valid and reliable and authentic to the children and the strengths that they bring to the classroom? And that doesn't mean that, because often if we criticize our accountability systems, people will say, well, you just don't want to be accountable. That's not true. What we want is a valid and a fair and a reliable way to look at, understand, and teach the emerging bilingual children that we serve. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No, keep he's going to need that. Okay, so yesterday I spoke a lot about the home that I was born into. I was born into a simultaneous bilingual home. On the left, you see my mother on her wedding day, and then you see me to the right. That's that picture just to the right of the flags. Qué pollo, ¿verdad? Qué pollito. And then the next picture to the right of mine is my nephew, who my sister had about 4 years ago. So that was literally the day he was born. Spitting image. So I was born into a bilingual home. My mother spoke to me in both languages. In reality, she knew that I was going to go into a schooling system, an education system that did not value bilingualism. We're talking about New York City in the 80s. And so she made sure that I maintained my bilingualism through first speaking to me in Spanish. Y cuando me hablaba en español, I would have to speak in Spanish back to her, or chancletazo. And then when she spoke to me in English, the same thing. And she also brought me to the library on the weekends and made sure that we read avidly. And so these are things that we want to start bringing into the classroom. If you have not thought about ways to bring in, even in English medium settings, bringing in home language practice, we want to start impressing upon you those ideas. I'm sure many of you already are doing that. But we wanted to make sure that we were creating that space. And so unfortunately, the trend that we're seeing with dual language education kind of sweeping the nation, this proliferation that we've seen at the turn of the century, did not exist in terms of the schooling that I had in New York City. So I remember when I went into school and started communicating with my teachers, I would speak in both languages, and they quickly told me, good morning. We say good morning. And they were really well-meaning white monolingual teachers, right? They thought they were doing me a favor. Right? But I think that what we need to start thinking about is ways to disrupt the monolingual space. And so if we ask you to leave with anything today, think about ways that you can begin to disrupt the monolingual space, because our multilingual learners are expected to operate solely through a monolingual lens. And that can be really uncomfortable. So I just kind of want to bring that to the surface. How are you disrupting the monolingual spaces from which you are operating, if you are? This is Johnny a few months later when he first held a book. And you can see that those are some of the benchmarks that we expect students at the pre-K level or before to be able to do, knowing how books operate. And then this is him over the summer when I was taking care of him. I would go around the room. I was doing laundry, and I peeked in to the room that he was staying in, and I caught him red-handed, right, reading one of these amazing books. So I try to make sure that I balance out what we're reading. So you're going to see a little video of him reading not The Three Little Pigs, but the true story of the Three Little Pigs. It's a conspiracy of what actually happened. And then also books like La Vaca que decía Oink. So if you don't know this book, this is a really amazing book that talks about a cow that spoke pig. And so he was otherized until he found a pig that spoke cow. And they found a bond. And so I won't tell you how the story ends, but these are the kinds of books that we choose deliberately to disrupt the monolingual space, to kind of keep it concrete. I'm going to bring up an image in just a little bit, but I'd like to show you Johnny when I caught him red-handed. Here we go.
The next sound is the six. The bird, the six. Little pigs, let me in. No, I bring my chin. Oh my God, I bring my chin. And I hop in my home, true.
Don't we want all of our kids to do that, right? That's what we're looking for. I bring up this video just because I'm standing here because of him. Everything I do in large part is because of Johnny. There is a story that I want to begin our session with. I was a teacher, a transitional bilingual ed teacher in New York City. Around 2007, I became a teacher. I did an alternative certification program called the Teaching Fellows. And there was a shortage of bilingual teachers. The pendulum was swinging away from monolingual programming into more bilingual programming, and there was a shortage. So I did a quick certification program, went to school at night, and was a teacher during the day. And I remember a student named Marcos. And Marcos was kind of like the mayor. Always trying to get people to get along. Lots of fights used to happen at lunch, and he was always saying, can we just find some common ground? You know, Marcos was always the one trying to unite people all the time. The problem was that Marcos was having a hard time mapping phonemes with letters, what was actually in print. And I would bang my head against the wall trying to get him, not just to memorize sounds, but to use them when he got to words he didn't know, getting his mouth ready. And I tried everything I could. I would bang my head against the wall. I was really, really frustrated. And so I thought, this was my first year teaching, that I had to bring him up for special services. And so I would go to what was called a school-based support team, and I said, I'm having a problem with this student. He's not acquiring letter sounds. He needs a smaller setting. He needs a 12 to 1 to 1. And for those of you that don't know what a 12 to 1 to 1 is, it's a group of 12 students, right, with one teacher so that there's more support, more individualized support. And I felt that that was his right. I felt that what he was getting in a larger setting wasn't what he needed. And so I would advocate, and luckily, they pushed back. The school-based support team said, no, you cannot have a student who has recently arrived, he's been here for less than a year from Dominican Republic, you can't just funnel those kids into special ed. And I said, you are denying him what is rightfully his. How dare you? And I actually tried to rally people around my cause, and I'm embarrassed telling this story, but it's real. I'm going to keep it real with you. I was trying to get a black and brown child into special ed because I didn't know how to reach him, not because he belonged there. And so you would invite some of my students to have lunch with me as kind of like a reward. And I remember having lunch with Marcos and a bunch of my students, and we're all playing games and eating, and out the corner of my eye, I see Marcos with a number 2 pencil. And he's staring at it like something serious is about to happen. And back in the day, I don't know if you're old school like me, but it used to actually say number 2 pencil. Right now it says like companies like Ticonderoga or whatever. But back in the day, you should just say straight up number 2 pencil. So he's looking at the pencil, and I see him doing like, he's like mouthing something like, no dos, pencil, no dos pencil, no dos pencil! And I lost it. I started bawling because he had cracked the code. And I said, oh my goodness, I was about to have this kid in special ed. I was trying to get him to go to special ed. And it really had to do with the ways that I was teaching literacy, the lack of knowledge around what literacy and language relationships play. I had to look inward instead of looking outward. And so I want to frame what we're going to talk about today because of that. If you look at some of the classifications for special ed, we're looking specifically from the year 2016 to 2017, L versus non-L. You see specifically under the headings of learning disability and language impairment, the differences, the disparities, right? So 38% compared to 36%, L versus non-L, 37 to 34. The L's only represent 8% of the overall student population in New York State. And so this is a problem. So we want to make sure that we understand why we're having this conversation today. This really is a social justice issue. And every single decision you make can change the course of a student's life. So let's really pay attention to those pivots as we engage in our conversation today. So I spoke to Manuel, and we were trying to figure out a way to come up with a very, very simple yet profound question. Why aren't multilingual learners achieving grade level proficiency? The issue to address with multilingual learner reading achievement. How can we get students who are developing their language into proficiency? So that is what we're talking about today. But it doesn't just have to do with the pivots that we do in the classroom. It has a lot to do with the system within which we work. And Paul Batalden said very eloquently one day, every system is perfectly designed to achieve the results that it gets. So there should be no surprises. So when we talk about disrupting the monolingual space, we're talking about challenging the status quo. And that starts with some of the pivots that we've been taught to do and undo those deeply entrenched practices. So I just want to make sure everybody has their bit.ly, because we'll be using digital copies as well as the physical copies for today's conversation. Okay, so what challenges are we trying to solve? We know that many students that are reading at emergency levels are multilingual learners. We know that many teachers in grades K through 12 need professional development to become effective teachers of language learners by identifying how independent and partner reading can support language development. Districts, although they've made mandates to provision specialized ELD instruction, their initiatives tend to be separate from ELA curricula. They focus a lot on grammar rather than on the 4 domains of language proficiency and metalinguistic awareness. They're generally ineffective in generalizing learning to the other content areas, and often have programs that prevent multilingual learners from fully participating in the curriculum alongside their peers. So if you are engaging in core instruction and teachers are pulling kids out of core instruction to engage in some other set of instruction during core, they're actually missing out on Tier 1, and that's a problem. Those are some of the systemic structural changes that we're trying to engage in. What we're trying to do essentially is not necessarily change the pullout system, but maybe align what's happening when they are pulled out, making sure that Tier 1 instruction matches up with Tier 2 and Tier 3. So let's listen to a student read aloud so we can get an idea of what students are expected to do when they are engaging what we call the making meaning process. So I'm going to introduce you to a student named Louis Dor. This is a student who was in a SLIFE program, Students with Limited or Interrupted Formal Education, and he came from Haiti. So he's actually multilingual. And we're going to watch how we were finding the highest level of text complexity that he was able to make meaning at, even though it's not necessarily his independent level. And we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. So as I'm pulling up the video, I want you to think about what he does. What are some of the things that Louis Dor does when he's engaging with text? And what pivots did the teacher make when she was trying to find his independent level? Take a minute.
Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. My name is Lucia. What's your name?
My name is Luido.
Luido.
Yeah,
Where are you from, Luido?
I'm from Haiti and you?
You're from Haiti?
Yeah,
I am from Spain.
Spain.
Yeah.
But where is Spain?
Where in Spain? Let me show you where in Spain. I am from the north coast of
Yeah.
Spain. From Spain to Washington, then from Washington to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm from there. It's Spanish country.
From Haiti?
Yeah. I'm
And
just
did you travel to other countries
no,
before?
only in New York I'm going.
Only New York.
Yeah.
Straight to New York.
Yes,
Yeah.
the last 7 months.
7 months
No.
ago?
I think 6 months.
6 months
Yeah.
ago. Only 6 months ago.
I think I'm waiting 2 years for finish my school in Haiti.
Oh,
But I almost finished. But right now I'm will play again.
okay.
I'm 18.
18
Yeah.
years old. Wow.
In my in school in Haiti, they don't use the Creole. They use the French for school, but the Creole just will the people when you're
Only
talking.
to
Yeah.
talk to each other. Well, I have a book here of Creole phrases, and I was wondering if you can read one or two to me. How about that one? Excellent.
Yeah. You reading?
I did it right?
Yeah.
Let me see this one. Est-ce que vous besoin d'aide?
Yeah. Ou bien dire. You know what that means?
What does that mean?
That's good.
That's good?
Yes.
Okay, well, let me keep on going. Est-ce que vous comprenez?
Yeah.
Je
I'm
comprends.
understand.
I don't know that I know how to say this one. How do you say this one?
Est-ce qu'on comprend devoir?
Est-ce qu'on comprend
Devoir.
devoir?
Yeah. Do you understand the
Le
homework?
devoir, the assignments. The
Yeah.
school assignments.
Yeah.
Okay. So, would you be willing to show us what you can do with English, reading and
Yeah,
talking about books?
Now I can read English.
You can read books.
Yeah,
Well,
but
then I
last
don't know that
last
we
2
need to-
months, I can't read English, but now I can read. Okay, I'm gonna read for you.
hard.
And add down, get and eat up, H or sow, see, will, all, big, came, they make too.
Let's look at the words this way.
It, eat, get, meet, wither, stretch, MC getting.
Do you know all those words, what they mean?
I don't know that, but I don't know what that means.
Do you know this one?
Yes,
What does it mean?
like that, stretch.
Show me show me this word.
I know, I understand that when somebody said me, but I don't know that in my language.
Uh-huh. Stretch.
Stretch. Yeah, when you get up on your bed.
Stretch.
But I don't know that means because
this is
the
the
MC
name of a person.
Ms.
Magdedican.
Mazgenican.
Yeah, it's a proper noun. It's the
Okay.
name, like
Like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, correct. Like McDonald's. Let's try this one.
E, C, said, sweeping, screen, MC keep store. This is the same thing in name of the person
Mm-hmm. The
Okay.
name of a person. You know this word?
Yep, like my phone screen, the screen of my phone.
The screen on the phone, correct? What do you think if we try one of these two readings?
Okay, let me try that.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. So take your time. It's about reading the words and also the ideas.
Okay.
Comprehending, understand.
Okay, this is an elephant. This is an
Okay.
elephant. Look at her trunk. This is the trunk.
That is the trunk.
Yeah. This is a woman elephant.
How do you know?
This earth.
Her,
Yeah.
right? You got it.
But they don't say she is a woman, but they just put her.
You got it right. This is a female
Yeah, a female elephant.
elephant.
Her trunk helps eat from tall fruit. Yeah, that's true. The trunk. She takes leaves from the trees. She put them in her mouth. Wow, you just see that. She takes a bath with her trunk. What is the bath?
What is a bath?
Yeah,
She takes the water
yeah,
and drops the
Oh,
water
like
over
that?
herself.
like that.
Takes a bath. That's a very interesting expression to learn that we are
Okay.
gonna write down.
She gets water with her trunk. She spent the water on her back. That's nice. She just take a shower.
She takes a shower. She gives herself a shower.
Yeah.
Isn't it fun? So 3 things that you remember that you read about the elephant's trunk. What 3 things you learned?
She's a girl.
She's a girl.
She can take the heat and the tree with her trunk. But she can take a shower with herself.
Awesome. You are an amazing reader in just 6 months.
Thank you so much.
You're learning so fast.
Thank you.
This is a success story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the story with us.
Okay.
With the person next to you, name the pivots. What did the teacher do to be able to truly understand all of the assets and funds of knowledge the student was bringing. And what did the student do as he made meaning? Turn and talk to your partner, please. Thank you.
My name.
Okay, so I do want to preface something that often happened when I was a teacher in my first year. I would only allow students like Louis Dor to access books at the level that I had evidence of him making meaning at. And so let's talk about disrupting the monolingual space. Just because we have a book that is written at the middle of first grade level does not mean at all that we're saying that that is the only level that he should be able to access. Quite the opposite. We'll talk about what some of the pivots to disrupt the monolingual space are, but we know that language learners transcend reading levels. There really is no such thing as an independent reading level for a language learner. I said it. And I'm probably going to get in trouble for it. Because the language acquisition process is so complex and we still have yet to understand what the language is of students, particularly who are simultaneous in this country, born into a simultaneous world, it literally is a classroom to prison pipeline to expect that students like Louis Dor should only be able to access books at the first grade level. It'd be an insult to his cognitive abilities. So the question that we want to ask you today is, how can I best coach and support the reading and language development of each individual multilingual learner based on what I already know about the complexity of the text, what I already know about the student and what they can do using an assets-based perspective, and what the research says are the highest leverage skills multilingual learners should focus on during independent and partner reading. Please pull out this document. And this is not specific to IRLA. For us, we use the IRLA, the Independent Reading Level Assessment, to be able to gauge where a student might have success reading. You can take out IRLA and really swap in anything, any F&P level, a DRA level. I don't want you to get caught up on IRLA. And I'm going to ask a friend to read aloud. Would you mind reading aloud what a reading level is?
Oh, okay. An indicator of the highest level of text complexity at which the student can be reasonably expected to.
Please continue.
Oh, my Lanta. Use the entirety of their linguistic and metacognitive resource for the purpose of making meaning of text, and in doing that, accelerate their English language proficiency. How can I
You're
do?
doing an amazing job.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my Lanta.
Engage in flexible thinking that enables the student to work through most text challenges on their own. This is best attained through sustained practice across a variety of text types and levels. Demonstrates proficiency on state tests-like conditions inclusive of any accommodations to which they may be entitled.
Thank you. I'll end the torture now. What a reading level of a multilingual learner is not is a measure their cognitive abilities. It's not a measure of their cognitive abilities. It's not a limit on the levels or types of text a multilingual learner should read. All students, especially multilingual learners, benefit from trying many kinds of books at a wide spectrum of reading levels. We put books in baskets, not kiddos. It's not an indicator of the level of text complexity at which a multilingual learner can read with accuracy and appropriate fluency, rate, and expression. With multilingual learners, these are primarily oral English proficiency markers. And so this is a really big conversation, so our challenge today is to make it granular. And so to do that, we just want to kind of set the tone for the practice that we're going to engage in. We're going to see two students through video. We are going to listen to them read text at a particular text complexity level. And then we're going to use the multilingual guide, which is a brand new tool that we are using in the field to be able to connect Tier 1 and Tier 3 instruction, to be able to make sure that every single classroom teacher can identify as a teacher of language learners with confidence and competence, and to make sure that students are not trapped in reading levels. So once we do that, we're going to ask you to be able to practice understanding what errors, entre comillas, the student was making when reading self-selected texts, and then being able to identify which of those errors were language development related or literacy related. I am just starting this practice myself. I am in no way, shape, or form an expert. I just am really good at disrupting space and causing all kinds of desmadres, as Jose Medina said in his tweet yesterday. But I need your help. And so this is going to be a collective co-creation of knowledge conversation. And then Dr. Escamilla is going to share what literacy squared suggestions might be for the same learner. Okay? So let us meet our first language learner. Okay, so just to make sure we're clear, cold read records, a cold read being the first time a student has read a text, in each reading level establish certain word accuracy expectations. However, word accuracy must be approached differently for multilingual readers to most appropriately inform instruction. Do not count errors due to pronunciation or accent. Yeah, we said it. I don't need you to correct the way I say words. I need you to understand that an accent means that I'm a multilingual learner. I speak many languages. Do not count errors where the word is not yet in their vocabulary repertoire, a new word in English. I said it. We're saying it. Do not count errors where the concept is new to the student in any language. Do not count errors in any of these categories, or errors in any of these categories need to be ignored when assessing a multilingual learner's reading accuracy in English because they're not reading errors. They are language development errors. Let's practice. This is Carlos. Yo me lo como. ¿Verdad que pollito? This is Carlos. He is a simultaneous bilingual from New York. And he's going to read the text that you should have it's an excerpt from Are You My Mother? So I need you to pull that document out. And then we've also given you both digitally and in print what we are calling the Cold Read Record Companion. We are providing this to teachers across the country to provide what we are calling a mental model, a way to disrupt the monolingual space when listening to students read aloud, multilingual learners reading from English texts. And so you'll see the types of errors that are language development related articulated on one side, and then on the back, how you can tell, what to do, and how to teach it. So we'll give you a minute just to glance at these documents, and then we will pull up Carlitos. Okay. For those of you that are running record aficionados, feel free to take notes. I know there's some of us in the his house. He's going to read aloud. Please jot down what you would consider an error. Okay, and then we're going to do a little turn and talk, and we might do a simple T-chart and debate what those errors might be attributed to. Are we all set? Here we go.
Carlos, and I'm first grade. Is Carlos. Name is Carlos. And I'm first grade, and I'm going to get in second grade. A mother bird sit on her egg. The egg humped. Oh, oh, said the mother bird, my baby will be here. He will want to eat. I must get something for my baby bird to eat. He said, I will be back. So away he went. Out came the baby bird.
Okay, so what is happening in this story so far?
This story, the mother of the bird, he was thinking that he needs something to eat. So he fly and go find some food. Then when he was flying, the bird came out.
Came out of the egg. How did the mother bird know that her egg was about to hatch? And what makes you think that?
Because the egg was moving and I was hot and hot.
Because the egg was moving?
Yeah.
And what part of the story or the images or the illustrations tells you that?
That
What part makes you think that the bird was about to come out of the egg?
so these three parts and this one. So when the egg was there, the egg was hot. Then moved. He was trying to get out of the egg. Then the egg stopped and something was thinking. Then the mother go fly and see some food, and then the baby came out.
Came out.
What happened? What did Carlos do to make meaning, and what instructional pivots or assessment pivots did the teacher make? Turn and talk, please.
Empezamos desde el principio. ¿Qué estás leyendo? ¿Me puedes leer el título?
La fiesta de abuelito.
Empezamos.
Okay, we're going to pose our next question. And I'm going to try to do my little Oprah Winfrey impression. So, what errors did Carlos make? Wow, you guys look so much better from here. Oh my goodness, amazing. I had that big light shining in my face. Okay, what error did he make? Who would like to take a shot? Loud and proud, hand in the air. What was an error that he made, entre comillas? Sasha, yeah. Just the error, just the error.
So, entre comillas, he said he for she.
Said he for she. Put a thumb in the air if you got that down. You jot that down, right? He's mixing up pronouns, right? Okay. Other entre comillas, other examples. Suzanne. Yeah.
He said humped instead of jumped.
He said hump it. He said hump it instead of jumped. Raise your hand if you jotted that one down. Good? Okay. Anything else? Yes. What's your name?
Jenny.
What area are you talking? Entre comillas.
He struggled with a regular past tense when he was describing the.
Give me an example of a regular past tense for us layman language literacy teachers.
Instead of saying flew, he said she fly away.
She fly. Raise your hand if you noted that as well. Couple people? Okay. Anything else that's not on our radar yet?
On his retelling, he said the mother of the bird, of the possessive instead of the bird's mother.
Why did he do that?
because that's how we say it in Spanish.
How do we say it in Spanish?
La madre del pájaro.
Who noted that? That the student is actually using their internal structure, their knowledge of the internal structure of Spanish, and that's deeply impacted how he is internalizing the structure or patterns in English. Anything else for the betterment of the group that we should note? I see a hand over here and a hand over here. Yes, your name, please.
Wenwu.
Okay, Wenwu, what do you have?
I don't know if someone already said this, but he said sat, but then he changed it to sit.
Yeah, why did he go from sat to sit? Anybody have an idea? Yeah.
I think he did that because he read sat because he can decode sat, but he doesn't know sat. So he went back to the sit that he knows, he learned already.
I see a lot of people nodding their heads. Okay, I saw a hand over here. Somebody else wanted to note an error entre comillas. I have a friend. Oh, you're not shy about talking anymore, mi amor. Okay. What else?
What I noticed is he was using TPR. So that's a language for us non-native English speakers. So he kept saying like out, or he was saying like fly.
Or if you're Puerto Rican, you just always speak with your hands, right? Como yo. Anything else worth noting? Good? Okay, are these all literacy-based or language-based errors? Most of them are language-based, right? Are all of them language-based? Right? That is what we need to decide together. That's what our conversation is about. So I'm going to play a video since we know that that's what multilingual learners do. They use their knowledge, they use what they know to figure out what they don't know. So let's listen to Carlos reading a self-selected text in Spanish.
La fiesta de abuelito. Empezamos desde el principio para que me enseñes lo que estás leyendo. Primero este es mi abuelito, ese es su abuelito. Hoy fue su cumpleaños y ellos le hicieron una fiesta para su cumpleaños. Aquí dice de sorpresa. De sorpresa. El abuelo no sabía. Llegó su abuelito. Cuando llegó a la casa le dijeron sorpresa. Él estaba sorprendido. Mira la cara. Enseguida todos comieron y la comida estaba rica. Comieron carne asada, frijoles y ensalada de papa. A mí me encanta comer esa comida también. 2 pies, uno de chocolate y uno de vainilla. De su cumpleaños. Ahí estaba un señor que estaba cantando y el abuelito estaba comiendo su pastel. Mientras que vino su tío tocó para que le toque la guitarra.
Como Manuel toca la guitarra también, porque es mariachi.
También. Después bailaron todos y la fiesta estaba muy divertida. Feliz cumpleaños, abuelo. Fue su cumpleaños del abuelo y la pasaron bien. ¿Por qué elegiste este libro para leer hoy? Porque las fotos son reales. ¿Las fotos son reales? Y este de acá es no ficción. ¿Y te gusta leer libros informativos? Sí. Y basado en la meta que repasamos ahorita con la maestra. Un ratito ya. A ver. Ya me dieron mi meta. ¿Cuál es tu meta? Igualito. Pero ¿me puedes leer tu meta? Contarle a alguien de qué se trata el libro, idea principal y detalles claves.
It's a different image, right, when we see the whole student. So what are you thinking right now in your head? I'm going to transition to another example. What has either confirmed what you were thinking or maybe changed what you thought? And how, from what we've discussed, what can you use to disrupt the monolingual space? Please turn and talk to your partner. I have them here? Yeah. Okay. I am now going to bring up Dr. Manuel Escamilla to discuss what do we do now. Right now that we've understood or had a little bit of practice in determining what a language-based error is versus a literacy-based error, and also understanding how the bilingual brain works when making meaning of text, I'd like to now transition to Dr. Manuel Escamilla for potential instructional moves for Carlos. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Escamilla. You can use that one?
But before I begin, what did you notice that is very, very important to do anything in life about Luidor and about Carlos? What did you notice? Let me ask. Juan. I have Juan ready. Juan, what did you notice? What does Luidor and Carlos possess that you need to be successful?
Are you Juan? Okay, I'm going to embarrass you in public now.
I don't know what to answer.
You can simply say the kid is good looking. I mean, you can say that. That's okay.
He's
What?
positive. Yes.
Say something.
Carlos is positive.
Carlos is positive. Juan, thank you very much. Sylvia, way in the back. Are you way in the back, Sylvia? Where are you, Sylvia?
Wait. What do you mean by positive?
Way in the back.
What do you mean by positive?
You're stealing my thunder here, buddy. So.
That he's engaged, that he wants to read and he wants to explain and stuff.
Way to go, Juan.
Gracias.
Okay, Sylvia, give us your feedback on what you noticed about what these kids, Luidor and Carlos, possess.
Well, I noticed that they both had skills in other languages, and so they were able to apply those to English.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, this is what I noticed. This is what I have. This is what probably most of you have. They both have a tremendous amount of confidence. Okay? And this is very, very difficult to build. Whether you are going to read, you are going to write, you are going to be videoed. How many of you, don't raise your hand or anything, but how many of you would really, really have the guts to say, yeah, come into my classroom and videotape me? I'm ready for you. Confidence, no matter what I do, no matter what things I present, we need to build the confidence in these kids in order for us to be able to be successful. Confidence. Okay, the slide. Okay. Carlos, okay, okay. So now, but I do. What is it that you say, Kathy? Sometimes we really have no shame. Sometimes that what I'm going to talk about, of course, is part of our book. That's when we say no shame. You have to go buy it. We can't give it to you. It costs too much for people to put it together. And I wanted to say that simply because this is what we're talking about, what we see in page 25 of the book. And I have with me too, because this is very important. I am one of the very last authors, and I think that they only included me because I'm married to the first author. And but there are two individuals that again are responsible for the content of the book, and actually we have a third one that is a member of the audience. And I think that that's all we have at the present time. Unless, Lucinda, are you here? No, she's not. Okay, so we have, and I'll start with Wendy. Wendy Sparrow, I see her right over there. She's not even going to stand up because she's embarrassed. Okay. Oh, she's standing up. She's standing up. Okay, so she's one of the authors. And then we have, of course, our director of Literacy Squared, Dr. Sue Hopewell. It is Dr. Wendy Sparrow, too. It is Dr. Susan Hopewell, and then of course, we sometimes worry about it, but the face of the book and Literacy Square is Dr. Kathy Escamilla. But they are here, and I want to recognize that. One of the reasons why they allow me to do this is because I am a member of the board of directors also, okay? So But this is their work, and I know it, but it is their work. I am speaking on their behalf, and we got together to review what Carlos had done, and it's only about the English portion. One of the things that you notice again is that Carlos comprehends, he understands the text, but he could use some oracy structures. Those are the things that we're talking about. And again, most of you probably are very familiar with the oracy structures that we bring to the table. And that is vocabulary, language structures, and dialogue. All that planned. So he could use oracy structures to be more fluid in the retelling. The oracy chapter, again, we have it right there, page 25. We are talking about a strategy that we sort of made better. We learned it from a colega, Estela Lara, por eso se llama Lara, porque es mucha lectura. Mucha Lara is the last name, and that's why you have that name. So those are the steps to Lara are the following, and this is what we are, again, suggesting for this child, for Carlos, not for Luidor, for Carlos. And that is the steps are very, and they are explained in the pages, starting page 25, the adapted, that we would do also. And the steps for Lara are on page 25, and then it goes on. But we also are recommending that the text be adapted, incorporating oral language structures that need to be adapted. And again, the Lara's elements is ones that the teacher models the entire reading first, then he or she does echo reading with the children, choral reading with the children, and then allows them to do partner reading. Each one of those readings, the echo reading takes time, 3 times. You do that 3 times during 1 week. You do choral reading 3 times during 1 week. You do partner reading 3 times during 1 week. And then you develop the teaching points, or identify the teaching points that you want to identify for Carlos in this case. So we have, again, the oracy practice. Okay, so this is what we prepare as a retelling of the, not retelling, but retexting the story. That, Are You My Mother? That would be the title. The story is about a bird's mother. And see what you see in, we'll go over that too. So let me just read it. Her egg is ready to hatch, and she needs to find food for her baby. She flies all around town looking for food. Knows the baby's favorite food will be worms. While she's gone, the baby hatches. What a surprise. And then we look at, again, the teaching points that we want for children to do fluent reading, to be fluent readers. So we do that. The formation of the possession, of possession. So this is what we're trying to teach with this retexting. Pronoun agreement, and I think that all of those things were identified by you when Carlos asked you that. The S on end of words, like hatches and flies. So this is, again, what we recommend. The entire process, again, we do Lara teaching for a tremendous amount of time. Now, one of the things, let's go to the next. One of the things about biliteracy from the start is that, ladies, gentlemen, we have never developed any materials specifically for the book that we wrote, because we want you to use the materials that you have available to you. We're not asking the school districts to spend more money buying our materials. We are asking them to use the materials that they have already and utilize this method. So anyway, so this is what we did as potential instruction moves using oracy. The student is going to practice. So we have the question. And notice that it's very similar to some of the questions actually that were asked. Why did the bird's mother leave the egg? And then we give the student the opportunity to, again, to begin, but also to put in his own feedback. She left it because what, Daniel? Because the baby, a complete sentence, she left it because the baby was going to be hungry. Second, what happened while she was looking for food? And we have 2 ways of responding. Arlene, where are you? Arlene, while she was looking for food, what happened? What happened while she was looking for food? The egg, did I hear right? What did she say? The egg hatched. Okay, somebody else who can do the next. While she was looking for food, what happened? Anybody? She finds the worm. Okay, was the baby afraid when he hatched? So this is again modeling that we're doing for the students so that he can do again what we're interested in doing. We say that I think the baby was afraid probably because he saw a new world, right? Maybe. What was your comment? Because she was gone. And I do not think the baby was afraid because, again, and there's an answer, but we give the student the opportunity to do that. Okay, so again, as I am trying to in a way, what's that?
Move on.
Oh, she was telling me to move on. Okay, I thought she wanted to say something. Okay.
So
okay.
You just heard a few things from Literacy Squared, but what we are doing is to also build from what is the oracy structures that Manuel was just talking about. You'll see in your packet digitally 2 examples. So one is to engage the student in what we're calling active reading strategies. You'll see that we have what's called a word attack strategies card. So where it says high leverage power goals, these are teaching points that would support either a one-to-one conference or a guided reading lesson. The teaching points are divided between who it's appropriate for. It tells you what to do, how to do it, and then the research that supports that instructional move. On the right-hand side, you have another example of a potential instructional move, again, to support the process of language acquisition through the reading conference, either one-to-one or guided reading. So there is what are called word patterns that we use based on our knowledge of word families and the onset and rhyme structure of English, and ways to help students decode one-syllable words and beyond by demystifying the structure of the English language. And so you'll see an example of what that lesson looks like as well. So we've discussed what the student is doing as a multilingual learner to make meaning of texts. We've discussed potential instructional moves, both from the Literacy Squared angle and from the multilingual guide that we have just come to print, that has just come to print. And that was an example of a simultaneous bilingual student. We'd like to now transition to another student. This is Daniel. Daniel comes from Ecuador. And the truth of the matter is that he actually has a pretty mean set of skills in his native language. I won't show you just yet. But he's in a SLIFE program. And so this session is not about program placement, but you'll see that he really has no place in a SLIFE program. A SLIFE program, students with limited or interrupted formal education, are students who are far below grade level in both English and their home language. And so this brings up another systemic issue that we're seeing, that often when you have SLIFE programs, they become the dumping ground for students who are multilingual learners because there isn't any other place to put them. So I'm going to play the video of Daniel making meaning of our next text. And again, I'd like for you to engage in a critical conversation around what language-based errors he's making, and then why. Let's take a minute as you're finding your one red text.
The plane from Mexico has left. Sam stood at the airplane window and watching. He was going to meet his cousin Marco for the first time. Soon a boy Sam's side came through the door. Sam's mother hugged him. Marco, this is Sam, she said loudly. Sam, this is Marco. He said Sam. Suddenly, he feels she. Hola, said Marco softly. In the car, Marco was very quiet. So was Sam. We are happy you have come to live with us for a year, said Sam's mother. See, said Marco, but he didn't look happy. He just looked out the window. You like sport? Asked Sam. Sam loved sport. He was very good at them too. Marco shrugged. I don't know.
So tell me, what has happened so far in the story?
But first, I think he feels nervous because it's his first time with his cousin, and I think then he feel better because he have his cousin.
What part of the text makes you think that Marco is nervous?
Here say that. I don't know where is it. I don't know where is it, but he's nervous.
He looks nervous in that picture. He's shrugging.
Mm-hmm.
From 1 to 10, what is the percentage that you understood of the story?
Maybe 7 or 8.
7 or 8%?
Mm-hmm.
80%, right?
80.
What are the new words for you here?
This one.
Shrugged. And how do you know what that means? Can you figure it out? Can you just think of ways to know what that means?
Mm-hmm. I look in the image.
In the image.
It's amazing to see what he was doing to make meaning. It's also really humbling to engage in this work. With the person next to you, please look at all of your notes. What errors did Daniel make, and attribute them either to a language development concern, or process, I should say, or a literacy-based concern. What did he do and why did he do it? All right, don't give it all away. Let's start thinking about what we're going to share for the betterment of the group. What was an example of an error, and what do you attribute it to? Who's going to lead us first? I see a hand over here. What's your name?
Patty.
Here, grab that. Hold it.
So a few of his errors I noticed, come and said. Those are our high frequency words that don't follow phonics rules, but he was using, I think, the English phonics rules that he knew, because he said come for come and said for said, which is what it should say.
So he's following phonetically what should say, but because English is an opaque language, it's not following a phonetic pattern. Did anybody else note that? No one else? A few people? Another example. Thank you. Another example. Yes, friend over here. Just grab that.
Thank you. We noticed that for the word hi, he was able to use what he knows in English and in Spanish because he said he. So the H, he was able to sound it out like he would in English, because normally if he would have done it just relied on Spanish, he would have said E.
Right, so through an analysis of the errors, we can actually see the bilingual brain in action, right? Other people who noted that example. Yeah, thank you. Another example for the betterment of the group. Yes. What's your name?
Monica.
Monica.
So we noticed that when he got to the word sí, which is actually in Espanol, he mispronounced it because I think he was probably thinking more in English, and then he went back and corrected it into Spanish.
Anybody else notice that? Right, so if we understand the multilingual learner process of making meaning in text, we may be less likely to place them at emergency reading levels and use that as data to make more powerful instructional moves. One more. Any other examples before we listen to him reading in Spanish? Yes, I see a hand over here.
The past tense, the way he was using the past tense, again, the patterns that he was using when decoding past tense verbs.
Right, the past tense example, anybody else note that? Yeah, so we're building a new mental model. Let's listen to him reading from a self-selected text. I feel like I'm at the gym. In Spanish.
Amo, mamá, llama, yema. Amor, alma, clima, plumas. No, palmas, plumas. Problema, llamando, palmada, diadema, camiseta, asamblea, salamandra, ánimo, almohada, samabanas, sábana, no sé. Desanimado, enamorados, exclamación, amablemente, emocionante, amarillento, reclamándonos, próximamente, auméntaselo, Yahweh, mediano, que no es ni alto ni bajo, es una estatura promedio.
Yo voy a elegir dos. ¿Qué significa reciente? ¿Cuál es un sinónimo de reciente?
¿Qué acaba de pasar?
¿Y qué tal temblor?
Un movimiento de la tierra. Confesar, tal vez algún secreto que tengamos oculto y lo queremos dar a la luz.
¿Qué tal repleto?
Que está full, que ya no cabe más.
Que ya no cabe más.
Ajá.
¿Y qué tal boquiabierto?
Que se quedó como asombrado. Difunto, que ya murió.
¿Qué tal habitar?
Vivir en un lugar.
¿Qué tal pasajero?
Que es algo que no va a estar todo el tiempo, va a haber un tiempo que se va a ir.
Hacer lo mismo en esta columna.
Advertir, que nos dan como un aviso de que puede pasar algo malo o algo bueno, y que nos están adelantando información sobre algo.
¿Una más que quieras elegir?
Natal, que somos de ese lugar.
Sentencia.
Como si hacemos algo malo, tenemos que pagar con sentencia o condena por un cierto tiempo.
¿Y decepción?
Que alguien nos hizo algo malo y era de una persona muy querida y nos sentimos muy mal por eso.
Echa un vistazo a estas palabras. ¿Reconoces la mayoría de ellas?
Sí.
¿Sí? Vamos a continuar entonces.
Prontitud, que lo tenemos que hacer rápido, es pronto, súper rápido.
Te voy a preguntar, insinuar.
Insinuar, de que no es así, pero lo interpretamos como si fuera así, que
¿Qué tal colosal?
colosal. Que es algo grande, pero...
Vamos a leer, si te parece.
Every time I play this video, like tears, right? I don't know if you're feeling what I'm feeling, but literally, if we were to hold this student accountable for all of those language-based errors, this kid is reading at a 7th grade level in Spanish. Think about the system that you are working in currently. We're going to move into hearing him actually read, but I want you to think about not just your pivots in the classroom, but the system within which you work and thinking about how to disrupt the monolingual space. Let's continue.
Vamos a tratar una lectura. Tenemos dos opciones. Una lectura de ficción y un texto informativo.
La primera.
La primera. Okay.
Los rayos del sol caían como cuchilladas sobre la cubierta, anunciando otro día de calor insoportable, mientras un viento, vacilante, empujaba lentamente al velero sobre las aguas del Atlántico, avergonzado por la carga que llevaba. Se abrió la compuerta de las bodegas y hombres, mujeres y niños treparon por una escalera de soga y subieron a la cubierta. Eran africanos de distintos pueblos y reinos del occidente de África. Africanos, de distintos pueblos y reinos del occidente de África, capturados para ser vendidos en el nuevo continente. Los prisioneros caminaban con dificultad, cubriéndose el rostro para protegerse del sol que lastimaba sus ojos. Se les permitía salir a la cubierta una vez por semana para realizar ejercicios, y solo durante esos momentos les quitaban los grilletes y las cadenas que los aprisionaban. Varios marineros fuertemente armados los situaron en filas, separados en grupos de mujeres y hombres. Oye, 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 una voz entonó el triste canto y como si fuera una señal los demás hicieron coro.
Daniel, ¿qué ha ocurrido hasta ahora en esta historia?
Pues al parecer llevaban como esclavos y los tenían contra su voluntad, como dice ahí, a venderlos a otro lugar, como si el gobierno quería hacer dinero con la misma civilización de su país.
¿Recuerdas algún detalle de cómo estaban, en qué condiciones vivían en la...
Pues al parecer vivían muy mal porque iban en un barco y tenían que hacer lo que los superiores les decían, si así se les puede decir.
¿A qué crees que se refiere el narrador cuando dice que los prisioneros eran una carga?
Tal vez para ellos no valían igual que los dueños del barco. Tal vez no eran, tal vez era racismo el que tenían y por eso los iban a vender.
¿Hay alguna parte del texto que te sirve de evidencia de que por eso lo llamaban carga?
Pues cuando les gritaban mucho y por eso no los trataban con cariño, porque para ellos solo era una carga nada más, algo que no tenía valor.
Algo que no tenía valor. ¿Y qué crees que significa esta expresión al principio? Los rayos del sol caían como cuchilladas.
Que estaba cayendo la noche, pero el sol estaba muy fuerte aún. Tal vez estaban en una parte del verano.
Ujú. ¿Hay alguna palabra en esta lectura que sea nueva para ti? ¿Alguna frase o alguna palabra con la que no estás
No,
familiarizado? ¿Comprendes todas las palabras?
sí.
Wow, Daniel. Eres el primer estudiante al que...
We're going to pause here. What are you thinking after having seen both an example of Carlos reading and making meaning with his multilingual brain and Daniel making meaning of text in English with his multilingual brain? Turn and talk to your partner, please. Thank you. Okay, we have about 15 more minutes, and we really want to drive our point home. So Manuel is again going to walk us through some literacy squared instructional moves, instructional pivots. But I do want to just make sure that we understand the message that we're sending. If you are able to assess the home language, make sure that that is a practice that you are engaging in. We understand in many cases that is not a possibility because those who have to assess the home language need to speak the language that you're assessing. But wherever available, wherever possible, please, we want to make sure that that is clearly stated. Manuel.
Thank you again. And again, we are trying to sort of bring together again something that has been developed that would go along with what the American Reading Company is trying to do. And we very, at least Kathy and I, very gladly accepted the opportunity to collaborate. So it's a collaboration. And we know this, again, that there is, again, something that we use frequently, that is the cross-language connections, or that is purposefully comparing languages, creating opportunities to purposefully, again, compare languages. And again, and we know this because, again, something that is very important to us as well is that what the content of the book is not only research-based, ladies and gentlemen, it is research-tested also. We have done the research, and the results of the research is also part of the book. So we talk, but we also depend on other individuals. So we're also basing it on what other people have done. And Luis Moll is a big name, Puertorriqueño. He's done a lot in our area. And he learned that students who retold an English story in Spanish and then retold it in English did better than students who only read and retold it in English, especially if you are a sequential bilingual. But also, again, if you are a simultaneous bilingual. So again, we're asking you to invite the student to retell in Spanish, even if you do not speak Spanish, to retell the story in Spanish, then to retell it in English. Remember that process of what we have to do. It doesn't happen to me anymore, but there was a time when, and if you ask me, ¿Cómo está? If you ask me, how are you? Tenía que pensar, oh, sí, me está preguntando que cómo estoy. Pero no estoy bien. So I have to think, ¿cómo estoy? Okay. Hey, listen, I'm having a hard time. Pero tengo que otra vez procesar eso, ¿verdad? So ya se imaginan más o menos. So, otra vez. But I think that what's important about cross-language connections is what are the strategies that you use to utilize cross-language connections. And we're talking in the book again on page 68, you can tell that we're talking about bilingual books, that we're talking about cognate instruction, that we're talking about code switching, that we're talking about a strategy that was developed by our colega, Así se dice. That you use those strategies to be able, again, to make the comparison or the connection among languages. That's very, very important. So I invite you again, not only to buy the book, but to read it. Page 68. Thank you.
In your digital packets, and I'm going to pull up, I heard that some people didn't get the digital link, so I'll make sure I pull that up. But what the multilingual guide shows is that one high leverage entry point for a student like Daniel is to teach the role that affixes play in English. And when you do that, also relating the role that affixes play in the home language. In this case, it would be Spanish. So in the guide, and you have copies of this, it'll go over a number of affixes, their meaning, and an example. Another high leverage entry point for what we're calling high leverage language goals would be this idea of developing cognate consciousness. We discussed what the cognate consciousness entry point is for Romance languages in relationship to English and non-Romance languages in relation to English, because that matters. I only have the first page, but you'll see if you scroll through the examples, again, meant for one-to-one conferring or guided reading, that you'll see that there are practice activities and places where students can start to collect examples of cognates or affixes as they're engaging in independent and partner reading. So a general recap. We listened to Luidor, we listened to Carlos, and we listened to Daniel. They have all kinds of amazing skills that the multilingual brain, that they brought as multilingual learners through their reading process, and have opportunities to extend that learning through not just literacy-based goals, but language-based goals. So affixes as patterns, kind of the morphological lens. Cognate consciousness. I just learned this term about a year ago, collocations, right? Words that often go together, like take a bath or coffee break. Nominalizations is another one. Kathy, I didn't even know what a nominalization was until a year ago. So nominalization, I learned, is when you take a verb and use it as a noun. Like take a look. Is that right? I'm looking at my language experts here. Pragmatics. Right, this idea of understanding that texts that are written generally at the second grade and above level, an author move that authors use is humor, right, to get students engaged and wanting you to read past page one. It's an opportunity to understand the role that pragmatics plays when reading. So these are a host of different strategies that we would suggest for students who are using their multilingual brain to make meaning in texts. So we're going to bring back that question, why aren't multilingual learners achieving grade level proficiency? We would like to think that they're not reaching grade level proficiency because we haven't owned our role and our rights to disrupt the monolingual space. And so if you leave with anything today, know that your pivots in the classroom and the voice and the advocacy that you engage in for your students every single day, you're chipping away at a system that was not designed to propel the needs of multilingual learners. It is our responsibility not just to teach, but to advocate. One of the things that I love about my job is that I get to fly all over the country and work with educators in many different settings. And one of the benefits is that I start to notice some patterns. So there are national shifts that we are seeing across the country with multilingual learner education. We're moving away from a monolingual lens during assessment, and we're moving into a relationship between language and literacy. We're moving away from an information transmission, curriculum-driven instruction, and more about social cultural learning using an apprenticeship model, where the teacher is apprenticing students into successful reading and linguistic behaviors. We're moving away from a reading culture built on compliance, and we're moving into a reading culture built on engagement. We're moving away from practice with printed texts. I'm going to stop there because I know all of us do print texts for students, but is that the only opportunity, the only kinds of books that are able to read? Worksheets. I go into classrooms and literally the only thing that students are doing are worksheets and printed books as opposed to authentic reading. We're moving away from culturally irrelevant texts and texts that contain microaggressions, and we're moving into culturally relevant and responsive libraries. We're moving away from English-only instruction in ESL programs and cross-linguistic connections, even in English medium classrooms and programs. Moving away from siloed ESL instruction and watered-down ELD, and we're moving into an integrated content-driven ELD, ESL instructional model. This is how you disrupt the monolingual space. I'm going to end with a couple of freebies. You will have a week to try out some of our leveled libraries. The books that you saw each and every one of our kiddos reading from, again, as tools, not just to develop literacy, but to develop language. So I'm sorry, that's wrong. It's ARC Bookshelf. My bad. No dot. Ooh, y'all would have been mad at me. All right, arcbookshelf.com. The username is cosechademo@arcbookshelf.com, and the password is icypaint76. I'll give you a look-see as far as what you can expect. Calm down, relax. All right, Icy Paint, there you go. We have 6 more minutes. I want to respect your time. When you go to the leveled library, you'll see that we do use a color leveling system. Our leveling system ties into all leveling systems. So I think what we do need to understand is that there are specific text complexity examples, right? Books that are written at different text complexities have different language structures. And so feel free to look at some of the books over the next couple of weeks in relation to the guided reading instructional suggestions that we've given you on the URL. So I'm going to pull up the URL one more time so you can have that for your notes. And then I'm going to read a final quote. Let's pull up the URL. Okay. So HTTPS, what do you call that? Colon, semicolon? //bit.ly/2, C as in Carlos, S as in Sam, I as in ice cream, C as in Carlos, lowercase q, F as in Frank. The bookshelf is not coming up, but I'm sure you'll have plenty of time to pour yourself a glass of wine and have some work tonight, or a latte. So I'm going to end with another advisory board member, Dr. Jim Cummins out of Toronto. If you want students to emerge from schooling after 12 years as intelligent, imaginative, and linguistically talented, then treat them as intelligent, imaginative, and linguistically talented from the first day they arrive in school. Thank you for everything you do every single day for multilingual learners.